depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Andrew Hollister, your host of Radio Free New York, and I'm joined in studio with Bob Savage.
Howdy doodles, everybody.
So I think we're going to have somebody call in here shortly.
No, we're not going to have somebody call in because somebody's already called in.
Oh.
And just at the top of the show, and we're running right to this because there's a little bit of a time element here. We have on the line here Peter Polano, the managing partner of the law firm Tully Rinke, and he's got a special program which is in effect in just about another hour. Isn't that right, Peter?
Yes, that's correct. Good afternoon.
Glad to have you on the program. So we're talking turkeys for veterans and service personnel.
Yes, yeah. We at our Tully Rinke office out 400 Linden Oaks. We are giving away turkeys to veterans. First come, first serve. Anyone who has either retired or active military service, show up with a military ID, and we want to thank you for your service, wish you a happy Thanksgiving, and give you a turkey.
Now, this is not something new to Tully Rinke. Why don't you tell us about that, because it's a great story.
Well, thanks. Yeah, Tully Rinke, as a law firm, we've been around for about 14 years. The Rochester office has been 5 years now. Both Matt Tully and Greg Rinke are military men. They both served their country before starting their law firm. Actually, Mr. Tully only retired from the military within the last couple of years. And this is a program that began 10 years ago. The firm originated in Albany. We now have offices across New York State. We also have an office in Washington, D.C., offices in Texas, San Diego, and we just opened in Ireland. And what we've done, this is the first year in Rochester that we've been able to do this. Actually, the people here, as soon as they pack up at 2 o'clock, they're headed to Buffalo, and we'll be doing it in Buffalo at around, I think it's around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock this afternoon. We'll be doing the same thing there. So it's happening in most of our markets across the state. But for Rochester, today is the day. And we've already had dozens of people come in, and hopefully we see a lot more, and we're doing everything we can to reach out.
Okay, folks, just recapping. This is until 2 o'clock at the Tully Rinke offices at 400 Linden Oaks, and this is a great thing. So these are this is not a hard hat area. You're not dropping them out of planes like WKRP in Cincinnati. That's not, as God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly. They'll be safely placed.
How many times the WKRP joke comes up when we plan these things?
All that. And yeah, that's great, Peter. And thanks so much for what you're doing. And you've got this going until 2 o'clock. Then you're packing up. So you got a few minutes left, folks, for the free turkeys. And do they need to bring any ID or anything like that with them, Peter?
Just a simple military ID is all we're asking, and then that's it. And again, it's just our way of saying thanks. So hopefully, any veterans that are within earshot listening to your program can, maybe you're already in the car. Just put on the GPS and come on over right away.
400 Linden Oak, not hard to find, and just for a few more minutes. And Peter, thanks so much. Next year, come and talk to us earlier about this so we can give a little bit more of a run up.
We certainly will. It was this year, just the timing of it. We're glad for the support, and we did get the word out, and we'll see you next year.
Storm didn't help either. Well, appreciate it, Peter. Thanks for all you do. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving to you.
All right. Peter Polano of Tully Rinke, where you can get, if you are military, retired, active, disabled vet, or whoever, all you have to do is swing by 400 Linden Oaks until 2. So you got about 50 minutes left here, Andrew, to get your free turkey.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice?
You mentioned Buffalo after that, right?
Well, we're going to go right to Buffalo, and yes, we head that way. So our Buffalo friends, I would go to let's see, tullylegal.com appears to be their URL for their website.
Yep.
And just find out what the particulars are, because Peter didn't give us the address for Buffalo.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I always love hearing stories of people doing something for veterans, or really anybody, whatever group people choose, veterans, homeless veterans. My wife and I used to try to host a homeless veteran for Thanksgiving each year.
Nice.
And it was interesting. It was actually really hard to find homeless veterans to house. It was kind of like people didn't keep a database, so we'd call to different organizations and they would say, oh, maybe we know somebody, and sometimes they get back to us, sometimes they wouldn't. We won't be in town this year, but that would be cool to see if somebody could put that together, a list of veterans that you could house during the holidays. So
VOC would have some interest in doing that. Veterans Outreach Center, of course, does a great job. I want to suggest that to Joan Brandenburg, who's our longtime friend, who's now joined the VOC.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's something more people would do too if there was an easy way to do it. So I know it definitely was something we always tried to do.
Remember your veterans on the holidays, folks.
Yeah.
So I feel like I probably totally derailed your show because I got this call from Leslie over at Tully Rinky this morning, and I just thought it would be a good thing to get the word out about.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm so glad that we were able to share it with people, and hopefully the Rochester people, you guys get out there, get those turkeys, and Buffalo people figure out where the turkeys are out there, and everybody should get them. So as usual, we're broadcasting live. We are on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and obviously on the airwaves with
Carrier Pigeon.
Yep, Carrier Pigeon, Snow Owl, whatever. Speaking of snow owls, there's some snow out there today.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
Kaboomba. Yeah. I don't know what the official word was. I didn't catch the noon news. What the snowfall, I think it was the reports I was seeing this morning were referring to 4.5, 5 inches. We got a little more than that out here at Radio Ranch. We got about 11.
Yeah, I saw people posting on Facebook that they had pretty close to a whole foot of snow, which is that's a lot of snow. So
yes, it is. I mean, you figure
nothing to that.
Annual snowfall typically in Rochester is between 100 and 120 inches. I think last year we actually topped 130. Wow. And this storm we got is 10% of annual snowfall right there.
Right there. Yeah. Right. Get all right in the beginning. And one of the things I like about seeing snow, I know people feel very strongly about snow one way or the other. Some people love it. Some people hate it. It usually depends on whether or not you ski or sled or snowboard. I don't do
or own a plowing business.
Yeah. Own a plowing business or maybe a snowmobile. I don't actually do any of the winter sports. I don't do any skiing. I don't do any snowboarding. My wife does. I'm awful at it. I am just totally terrible at it. But I like the snow. One of the reasons is it's the introduction of hunting season for me.
You can see those whitetail all of a sudden, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So tomorrow's opening day for where I go hunting.
Is that bow?
Gun.
Oh, it is gun tomorrow.
Yep. So bow's been going on for a while. I haven't bow hunted in a long time. Just haven't got the practice.
That's right. It's getting on towards late November.
Yeah.
Time's getting away from it.
Going quick. Yeah. And so I haven't really practiced with the bow. And about 2 years ago, my bow actually got stolen. It's a long story. So I haven't been out bow hunting, but I'm excited to get out there and do some gun hunting this year. Didn't get a chance last year.
Now we're going to be careful in that tree stand now, right?
I don't do much in the tree stand.
Okay.
But
I think more people get hurt with those things than they do from the weapons.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. And that's if you ever go through like a hunter safety course. I mean, a lot of it is accidental injuries from, not having a good, set up tree stand or not being harnessed in or, just not checking the steps on the way up. I don't really do much. My dad does. My dad's got a couple tree stands set up on our family property, and he definitely does the tree stand thing. I spend most of my time on the ground. I like it there.
Gravity is not your friend.
Yeah. It's always off, or it's always on. I mean, it never turns off.
Can't pause it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm pretty excited about that. Seeing the snow and just feeling the fresh, cold air, in the morning just reminds me of being out in the woods. So I'm pretty excited to go do that tomorrow.
You've done this all your life, though, right?
Say it again?
You've done this all your life, going out and hunting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I had my license at 12 years old. Grew up hunting with my grandfather and my father in the southern tier. That's still where we hunt. And when that cold winter air comes through, it's just that's the first thing it reminds me of. And it's funny, I was talking with somebody about it yesterday who wasn't familiar with hunting, and they were asking about, the tree stands. And growing up, I actually did spend a lot of time in the tree stand. And I always say that when I was young, one of my favorite things was I'd get up early, 3 a.m. or whatever. We'd go out to the tree stand, and the trees would rock in the wind, and I would fall asleep always when the deer would go.
See, that's the trouble right there.
Yeah, by 8 a.m. when the deer are actually moving through the woods, I'd be passed out asleep in the tree stand. So good memories. So we're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be back on Radio Free New York.
WYSL 92.1 FM, 95.5 FM West, and all over at AM 1040 WYSL. This is Bob Savage for Schulteis Sporting Goods in Arkport. People from all over the area have been coming to Schulteis for over 40 years. They're an experienced gun shop offering gunsmithing, repairs, and custom work. Schulteis has a great selection of new and pre-owned guns, a large inventory of handguns, and great prices on ammo. Schulteis offers free appraisals. They buy collections, and trades are welcome. Open Monday through Saturday at 10 a.m. Schulteis Sporting Goods, Main Street in Arkport.
Take it, Tony.
How's that, Pete?
Terrific, man. Hold on. Hello.
Honey, we need help. The house is freezing.
Oh, man, now I really got the blues.
What's the skinny, Pete?
Furnace won't fire and the house is freezing. What am I going to do, brother?
Call Taylor, 500 Help. Their heating experts will fix things up and have you singing in no time.
500 Help? Now that's a hot number.
I bet
Getting a spot?
you're getting it, man.
Call Taylor, 500 Help.
You're listening to Radio Free New York
on the WYSL stations.
All right, guys, here we are. We're back. I'm Andrew Hollister, host of Radio Free New York, and we got some comments coming in on Facebook and Twitter here. A few people who are watching the show live noticed that I haven't shaved in a couple of days, so they're wondering if
what's up with that?
Yeah, I finally just had a little bit of time to just relax. So yeah, I haven't shaved.
Besides, you're going out. You got to be furry to stay warm.
And that's what somebody said. Somebody asked if I was growing the facial hair for hunting season, or if it was just a no shave November thing. No, it's not either, guys. I'm just have been tired and recovering from the campaign.
You can't imagine why.
Yeah. So we'll see. I have my barber actually, who I'll bring in a picture for you guys and post it on social media. I did used to have this big grizzly beard. That it was well kept. Oh yeah. I mean, it just big beard, and my facial hair actually turns red as it grows out. So
happens with a lot of guys.
Yeah, kind of this big red, bushy Irishman looking beard. And so my barber, of course, is asking me, hey, now that the campaign's done, are you going to grow out the beard? And I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the facial hair yet. Nobody knows. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, so hunting season is here. Very excited about that. But something that I'm not so excited about is that Cuomo's pushing for raises for our elected officials.
Yeah, well, and look at the timing. Mm-hmm. Right after the election.
Yeah.
When nobody can do anything about it.
Yep. And the interesting thing about the raises that our elected officials would get is, guess who votes on those raises?
Oh, they do.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? I wish I could vote on my own raise. I work for somebody and I get to vote for it and get a raise whenever.
They actually had a vote on this before the election. I think it was within the last year, at which point they all got out the virtue signaling. Oh, no.
Yeah.
We make plenty of money. No, we're not doing that. That wouldn't be right.
Yeah. So it's very interesting that you're absolutely correct. Before the election, they vote, no, we won't take salaries. Now all of a sudden it's no, we need to increase our salaries. Here's the thing about legislative salaries in New York State today. They're already the third highest paid in the nation.
Third highest.
Third
I thought they were the highest.
I actually thought so too. So when I was looking at this, I thought for sure that we were going to be number one, and I figured people would want to know about this. What does a legislator get paid in New York State, and who beat us? So being a state legislator is actually part-time. So that's the first thing. So when we talk about the salary, this is a part-time salary, not full-time. So they get paid $79,500 a year. Base salary.
That's base.
Yep, base salary for part-time work. Then an additional $174 a day for every day they're in Albany. That's to cover their lodging and food, essentially. Then what many of these state legislators are doing, and it's interesting, once you hear it, you're like, oh, this makes sense. Yeah, of course they're doing this, but you don't think about it because you and I, we wouldn't think of doing this. They then, in addition to that, many of them take a state pension on top of that. So they get paid a state pension, about $80,000 a year, plus another $174,000 a day. And
$174 a day.
Yeah. Yep. $174,000. Oh yeah. No, sorry. Yeah. We're not there yet. Who knows? After they're done voting, maybe it will be.
Who knows?
Yeah. So they get paid all this, and they get whatever outside income as well.
Well, they get this thing called Lulus.
And, that's on the list too.
Yeah, Lulus are basically this committee appointments, and if you're politically connected, meaning you're a good little soldier and you do what your party tells you, Democrat or Republican, we're talking about, then you get an additional stipend. I think the late Bill Nojay, I think that he sat on some committee, some policy-making committee. I think that paid like an additional 30 or 35. So he was well up into, six figures.
Yeah.
For a 6-month-a-year job.
Yeah. And one of the articles from Syracuse.com, they mentioned that most of these legislators are getting over $200,000 a year. But once you combine in the Lulus with the base salary and their $174 a day, and then their outside income isn't actually transparent. It's not available, so you don't actually know what they're getting paid by XYZ Corp.
Oh, you're talking about the graph. Oh, did I say that in my out loud voice?
Yep. So there's they get paid a tremendous amount. Once you factor in that money, we actually are the highest paid in the nation.
Sure. Now, just to put this in perspective, you know what Texas state legislators make?
I don't. Not off the
$7,200 a year.
Yeah.
And they only meet every 2 years.
Yeah. I remember. Actually, now that you mention it, I remember us talking about that once. Yeah.
So they don't have to worry about these clowns gumming up the works and enacting some stupid thing like the SAFE Act. Of course, I suppose you could say that Andrew Cuomo doesn't need the legislature to enact the SAFE Act because he didn't last time.
Yeah.
And then in New Mexico, state legislators get paid zero.
Yeah, I think Arizona might be the same way. I think they're volunteer.
Right.
So, yeah, it's interesting. So the ones that do pay more than us, I'm sure most of us can guess the top most paid, and that is California.
Mexifornia.
Yep, California. The other one is Montana, which was kind of interesting to me. I'm not sure. I guess I don't know enough about Montana to know why their state legislators are getting paid more than us. Are they heavily blue, red, purple? What?
I think they were red. It may have to do with the population density. There's just opportunities are so few out there that
could be. Or maybe they have way less legislators. Maybe there's only like 5 of them or 12. Yeah. So
what was that? Montana? I'll have our crack research team take a look at that.
Yeah, Montana was on there, so it's pretty interesting. If you want to see what other states are, Ballotopia has a comparison. It's got all 50 states on there, what the state legislators get paid. I think this brings up an interesting topic. I mean, the fact that the state legislators, A, get to vote on their own salaries, and B, that they are paid just so much more than other states across the country, brings up the question of how should we pay our state legislators? Like, what is the maybe the fairest or most transparent way to do it? One of the things that was the reason that they voted against their raises last time was because they wouldn't be allowed to have outside income. And that was a measure that I forget who proposed it, but essentially they want some transparency and know when the legislators are getting paid, who's actually paying them. Is it a corporation? Are they getting PAC money on the side? Are they voting for things that might have interest in what their outside income was? So interestingly enough, they all voted against that as well. They didn't want to stop their outside income, even though they were already getting paid pretty handsomely in New York for a part-time job.
So with this pending looming potential raise, are they going to have to forego the outside income still?
I haven't seen that piece yet, but I suspect that if they eliminate the outside income, that they will vote against the raise again. I bet. I would be willing to bet, because I don't know this to be true, but I am suspicious, and I suspect that their outside income is even more than their state legislative salaries.
Well, we'll just never know about those cardboard boxes full of cash, will we? In the Montana State Legislature, there's 150 seats. There's 125. Well, this doesn't make any sense. Total of 150 seats in the Oh, I see. 125 seats in the lower house. And then, 125 seats, 25 of the Montana State Senate, and all 100 of the Montana House of Representatives. That adds up to 125 to me, but I don't know. Total of 150 seats. That's what Google says. Yeah. I think, quoting, there are a total of 150 seats in the Montana State Legislature, 125 seats, 25 of the Montana State Senate, and all 100 of the Montana House of Representatives, up for election every 2 years.
Interesting. So they've got 2-year terms as well, which a lot of ours are 4-year.
Right.
So interesting. Yeah. So I kind of, I've talked about this a few times, but the idea of how we should pay our state legislatures, and I'll talk about the pros and cons of this too, because I know people have differing opinions. I'm okay with state legislators being paid a salary. If they're going to actually do it as a job, they're going to, step away from their family, step away from their life, not go to work every day, but instead do service for the people. I'm okay with the salary, but what I think the salary should be based on is the median income of the district they represent. And I don't know what you think about this, if you've got any thoughts or maybe even a different idea, but I think that gives a couple incentives. One, you want to act in what's truly the best interest of your constituents. And you can't just go in there like what we have in the city of Rochester, which is literally one of the poorest cities in the nation, yet our mayor makes, I think, over $170,000 a year. And I think it's just so terribly disproportionate. And our school boards, they make a tremendous amount of money as well.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, to represent a population where many of the families, I think over 50% of the families in the city right now make less than $12,000.
And they're also allowed to double dip and triple dip and quadruple dip. And I honestly believe that that's the case with most of the school superintendents. The city school superintendents we've had in recent years, it's a revolving door, Andrew. I mean, they come, they're there for a year and a half or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they avail themselves of a big fat pension.
Yep.
And then go out and find another 6-figure job. Mm-hmm. And some of these people, Bob Duffy is an example, stacks up these pensions and these compensation packages to where they're making $500,000 a year or more.
Yeah. And that's.
I wonder why it costs so much to live in New York.
Yeah. Why are our taxes so high? That's a great example. And you're absolutely right. I mean, the pensions pay like insane amount of money out, an insane amount of money. And the city school district, to your point, we've had 5 different superintendents in less than 10 years. So nobody to really direct vision, nobody to direct leadership.
Start over again every 2 years.
Every 2 years, yeah. And you can't help but wonder what situation that puts teachers in. That things change every year. How that impacts education. And none of it is.
Look at the results.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Worst in the nation. Detroit beat us. I mean, that's just so upsetting. So we're going to take another break here. And when we come back, we'll talk about a different type of break. We're going to talk about tax breaks and what's going on with New York State and Amazon. So we'll be back in a minute.
Tell a friend about the program, and we appreciate that very much. Radio Free New York on the WYSL stations, 92.1 FM, FM 95.5 West out in Spencerport, Brockport, Hilton, Greece, and everywhere on AM 1040. We'll be back.
You're listening to the voice of liberty. WYSL. AM 1040 Avon, Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, FM 95.5 Spencerport, and WYSL1040.com everywhere.
At Family Furniture in Perry, get everyday savings without big chain store hassles. Find out why Family Furniture is the shopping destination for thousands all over the region. For the best prices, quality, and selection on name brand sofas, bedroom and dining room groups, recliners, and motion furniture. You'll also find great financing deals for qualified buyers and quick, convenient delivery. Instead of the big Rochester showrooms, take a quick drive to Family Furniture in downtown Perry, serving you for over 65 years. Open Thursday and Friday nights till 7, Saturdays till 4.
All Seasons Wine and Spirits, East Main Street, Avon offers the largest selection of New York State wines in Livingston County. Enjoy New York wine tasting every Friday. Save 15% on a case. You can mix it.
Coming back.
Open daily. All Seasons Wine and Spirits in Avon.
You're listening to Radio Free New York
on the WYSL stations.
All right, guys, we're back here on Radio Free New York. Hey, if you guys want to call in, feel free to give us a call. Number is 585-346-3000. Or if you're outside the 585 area code, that's 866-552-1009. We're streaming on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So if you guys comment with questions, I'll be happy to take those there as well.
So you can get a look at Redbeard there, folks.
Yep. And something that I want to bring up for you guys is now that campaign season is over, doing this show, I need to build up some support. So if you guys know of a business that wants to advertise on the show, advertise on the website, anything like that, send them my way. I'd love to talk with them. Let's get them on here. We broadcast basically all over Western New York, and then we touch people online as well. So.
Yeah, if you support Radio Free New York, we'll also throw you some spots outside the show as well. Just sprinkle them around the schedule so you'll hear your business in Quinn in the morning, and Glenn Beck, and Dana Lash in the afternoon, and our other programs as well. So you get lots of exposure, lots of great value. We take all major credit cards. So give us a call, and we'll be happy to accommodate you, get the word out about your business. Great way to build your business, by the way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the reach on this radio show is pretty amazing. As I was traveling across the whole state doing the campaign, I would meet people all over who said that they listened to the show regularly. They were really big fans, and I was like, wow, this reaches just so many people, people that I didn't realize it would reach. So it's pretty cool. So before the break, we were talking about Cuomo and state legislators talking about raising their salaries. And
why is Cuomo involved in this? I don't know. Seems like there's political liability there. This is not a popular issue.
Yeah, I
think he doesn't care.
My assumption is the Cuomo strategy is to be in the news as much as he possibly can, good or bad, doesn't matter. So that he continues to build his name recognition for a 2020 run. That's why I believe. So I'm sure that it's getting some sort of outside of New York attention that Cuomo is pushing to raise legislative salaries outside of New York. So people are seeing his name, seeing his face, hearing about him. It's just like when he went to Puerto Rico and all the other stuff.
Sucking up to the Puerto Rican base in New York City. I'd say, hey, Andrew, good luck with that, to quote SpongeBob.
Yeah.
It's very difficult for me to imagine the South voting for Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah,
or the middle of the country voting for Andrew Cuomo.
It's
flaming,
really
screaming liberal.
Yeah. So I saw on social media, I think it was yesterday, and social media is not a place you should go for accurate news whatsoever. Fair disclaimer. But I saw a lot of people speculating that Cuomo and Hillary have been working together, talking together about doing a joint run in 2020.
Air sickness bag, please.
Oh, yeah.
I need a six-sack. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Again?
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. Apparently, she gave a speech that I did not watch, listen to, or read that people said was basically the introduction to her presidential campaign for 2020. So I'm not sure what that speech was. I don't know where it was.
Like 90?
I have no idea. I don't know. Yeah, she's been around for a while.
Upper 70s. Yeah. I guarantee you that.
Yep, absolutely. So
I'm old, and I know she's considerably older than me.
There you go. I mean, she's really been in the political arena for
too long.
Ever since I can remember anything about politics. So very long time.
Well, it's interesting. Our morning guy on this station, Jim Quinn, was friends with I can't remember who the pundit was, who said, Jim, these people, you'll never get rid of these people. They'll be around forever.
Yeah. It's a good argument for term limits.
Yeah.
Really good argument for term limits.
Like the country song, How Can I Miss You When You Won't Go Away?
Yeah. I like that. So I think that we should pay our legislators based on the median salary of the people they represent, the district they represent. Some people, nobody's really commented it or called with this, but sometimes when I talk about that, I'm met with a few arguments against it. And so I feel appropriate to just put the argument against that as well, because somebody will probably bring it up at one point or another. The first argument against that I hear from people is that, well, yeah, in poor areas, then the salaries won't be high enough, so good people won't run and they'll continue to suffer. My argument against that is this. That's not true at all.
Because what?
Yeah, because what you'll get is people in that community who actually care about making their community better. They don't care if it's $100,000 or $50,000, whatever that pays. That doesn't matter to them. What matters to them is having a better community. So I think that that'll actually eliminate the people that are in it just for cash. Now, the other argument that I hear out of this is people will say, yeah, but you know what, Andrew, if it doesn't pay enough, then those legislators will accept bribes. They'll be more susceptible to bribes because they're not making enough money. My answer to that is, that's what's happening now. They're already making more money than most of the nation, and they're getting bribes anyway.
Give them more money. Sheldon Silver comes to mind. Yeah. Dean Skelos comes to mind.
Mm-hmm. And we have some local examples, too, what's going on right now. And I'm not sure where that case stands right now, but it was what's his name? Help me with the name.
Chris Collins?
Well, no, that's insider trading. No, he just lost to Marjorie Burns, I think, in the primary.
Oh, Joe Arrigo.
Yeah, the Joe Arrigo, and supposedly there's some other elected officials who are involved in that.
Innocent until proven guilty. Well, yeah, there's a lobbyist, Robert,
Scott Gaddy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. So that's being investigated. I think they're going to court on that right now. I don't believe it's been finalized yet. But yeah, that's happening now. So those I don't accept those as viable answers. I think people are just afraid of change.
And Arrigo is is kind of the poster child for a culture, a certain culture which exists in Albany, which is we just get to make up the rules as we go along, and that those practices are absolutely prevalent.
Yeah. And I hear that all the time. I hear, you see it here. It's way worse than what we see or hear about. I hear that all the time from people. So moving on to Cuomo's just like I said.
Yeah, speaking of Cuomo, are you going to go to the Amazon jobs thing?
Yeah. But did you want to go somewhere else first?
No. You do your Amazon thing. I'll jump in.
Yeah. So like I said, he's doing whatever he can to stay in the news, to build support for his 2020 run. And now we have this Amazon deal where Amazon's HQ2 is going to be 50% in New York State, and we only had to bribe them to the tune of about $3 billion to make that happen. And we're going to get allegedly, and I say allegedly, and I'll explain why later, 25,000 jobs out of that. 25,000 jobs. Now,
and a lot of them are supposed to pay $150K.
That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. Now, the thing that I have an issue with this is New York City's in on this deal too. So New York City is putting in $1.2 billion is what they're doing, which leaves New York State at about $1.5 billion that's being put in. Who do you think is going to put in that $1.5 billion?
Well, go take a look in the mirror, folks.
Yeah. So Upstate is going to end up covering this, and Upstate's not going to see any jobs, period. So even if you thought maybe this was a good idea, which I think it's a terrible, terrible idea, but maybe you're one of those people that's like, no, we need the jobs. Yeah, that makes sense. Think about that. You won't see a single job in Upstate, but we're going to fork in $1.5 billion.
You guys use the Mario Cuomo Bridge?
I haven't, but I'm sure they will, down there.
Because we're paying for that too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or the MTA, $6 billion from Upstate going to the MTA. Yeah.
Right. And now let's think about the long-term implications of this too. When we start getting into this, of course, the distortion of the marketplace is the fact that because the taxes are so high that nobody wants to invest in New York State because it doesn't make economic sense to do that. Well, that necessitates our bribing these companies to come in to reduce the overhead. What message does that send anybody that we want to attract to New York State? Get in line and get yours.
Yep.
So we're setting a precedent here where we're never going to get any development in upstate New York or anywhere in New York State unless we bribe them, unless we come up with these tremendous financial packages. And it's a downward spiral because the market, anytime government distorts the marketplace like this, the end result, finally, the logical conclusion is everything collapses and nothing works anymore, as in Venezuela.
Yeah. Well, and not just that. I mean, here's the thing. Cuomo's trying to say, oh, no, this is successful. And then he said something that to me was just so frustrating. And he said that the money that New York State invests. Now, whenever an elected official says invest, fund, fully fund, always think more of your tax dollars, increase in taxes, your money coming out of your pocket. So he said New York State invests more than any other state. It's unrivaled.
Yeah, blows it.
Yep.
Blows more than it is.
So I actually did some research. I wanted to see. I'm like, yeah, what do we invest in these companies? $8.6 billion a year is what we've spent. I went back as far as 2015. So about 3 years back. I'm sure if we kept going, it would be similar. So $8.6 billion a year is what we've been putting into companies to supposedly create jobs. And we know that this has failed time and time again. Just a few that come to mind right off the bat. Photonics. Photonics is a local example.
Oh, my gosh.
Total disaster. We've spent,
what did Louis Slaughter tell us? 22,000 jobs?
Something like that.
12,000 or 9. It was just constantly scrolling, changing total of jobs. And ultimately, what we got was a call center.
Yeah, and I think we built one or two multi-million-dollar facilities for them that are just staying empty right now on top of all of that.
Oh, yeah, clean rooms and all this stuff.
Yep. Then we've got our startup New York. That's great.
Hey.
Close to $100 million on that and made what did we get? Less than 1,000 jobs. I think it's like way less than 1,000 jobs.
Wait, are you talking about all of the whole startup New York thing?
Yeah.
With the SUNY, the Caballeros Polytechnic thing, and and then we had a semiconductor, or what was it? It was it was light bulbs or something.
Yeah,
energy-saving light bulbs in Syracuse, completely bust. Then we have our very own upstate Solyndra in Buffalo, the solar plant.
Yep,
Buffalo Billion.
Yeah. It's it is not good, and that's it. It doesn't stop there. We've got the $20 million we put into the Kraft cheese factory. trying to save 900 jobs in 2015. It hasn't helped. It hasn't saved them. And another local favorite. Now, this one, I don't know that this one was state. This one might have been solely local, but I bet you the state kicked in on it. Fast Ferry. That was successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
That did good. I think that they reported they lost $80 million in just 10 months on the Fast Ferry. And what was interesting to me about that is I found a news article when they sold the Fast Ferry. They tried to make it this big thing. Oh, my God, it's so great. We sold the Fast Ferry for $29 million, so we'll be able to pay off some of the debt we incurred by doing the Fast Ferry project.
It's going to take 20 years.
Yeah.
You know what the Fast Ferry is doing now, by the way?
No, I have no idea.
It is carrying Muslim immigrants to Europe from North Africa.
Interesting. I had no idea.
It's true. We'll be back on Radio Free New York. All your rights, all the time. There's a place in the village of Avon you and your critters will love. Whether they're big or small, whether they've got hair, fur, or feathers, Avon Feed fits every need. There's a full selection of pet foods for dogs and cats, bird feeders, suet, and all kinds of quality wild bird seed. Check out our frequent flyer bird seed program. Buy 10 bags of bird seed, get the next bag free. Choose farm feeds and great equine products like Blue Seal and Neutrina. Find everything for your pet from feeding bowls to toys, leads, collars, beds, crates, and tie-outs. Avon Feed and Supply has what the big pet chain stores will never have. Tim Cole and his great knowledgeable staff. And if you think you'll save money at that pet superstore, well, think again. While you're at Avon Feed, don't forget the two-legged pets with River Rat Thousand Island cheese and great flavors, including hard-to-find mean and nasty, plus once again nut butters, Nunday mustards, and Rickles pickles. Open weekdays 9 to 6,
Coming back
9 to 4. Avon Feed and Supply, West Main at the bottom of the hill, just west of the Circle.
You're listening to Radio Free New York
on the WYSL station.
Remember, Radio Free New York is on the air 24 hours a day, wherever you are, through the WYSL podcast. Go to WYSL1040.com, go to the podcast page, and just navigate to Radio Free New York. Here's Andrew C. Hollister.
Hey guys, so we're just we're talking here about Cuomo's latest blunder, I guess is the best way to talk about this. Multiple failed attempts to create jobs in New York that always result in spending billions of our tax dollars to try to say we're creating jobs when we just simply don't. It fails all the time. But I think there's a deeper issue here. There's a deeper issue than failure, and that is kind of how society looks at this sort of thing, especially people who are, to the left. A lot of times, and not just to the left, I see people on the right say this too. They go, yeah, we need to spend this money. We need to give these breaks. And when you hear tax breaks, really, I want you guys to think bribes. All right. So when you hear invest, fund, and fully fund, think increase in your taxes. When you hear breaks, I want you to hear bribes. So we need to give these bribes to these businesses to come into our state.
Those taxes need to be paid anyway, folks.
Yeah.
What happens is it just gets spread among all of us to pay for Amazon.
Yeah. So now we as New York State taxpayers are going to spend about $2 billion, upstate about probably $1.5 billion in our taxes. Basically an increase in taxes to cover this, to possibly maybe create jobs downstate. And New York City is going to kick in another $1.2 billion. So that's the first thing. We literally have such a broken state, such broken taxes, broken regulation that we need to bribe businesses to even consider coming here. Companies are up and leaving to other states. No bribes necessary. They just up and go because the regulations and taxes are so much better.
Well, you know what will happen next? And we've seen this in New Jersey and I think Connecticut, where they have such a hemorrhage of business out of the state that the state enacts an exit tax.
Yeah.
So if you close up your business, you eliminate jobs or whatever, you get charged for that. So, of course, this is the progressive approach to everything, which is to put the heel of government's boot down on the throat of business, even to a larger extent. Like nobody's going to notice that if they were ever thinking of locating to upstate New York. So if things go bad and I have to move to another state because I can't take the taxes anymore, I won't be able to afford to leave.
Yep. And in New York State, you have to get a permit to have a going out of business sale. You have to be approved for it. You have to go through a process. You have to pay a fee. You cannot have a going out of business sale in New York without New York State being involved. So, but there's another piece to this, and that other piece is, people, and I'll go back to typically on the left, but people on the right too, often complain and are extremely vocal about giving tax breaks to the rich. They are very, very loud on social media, in the news, the whole thing.
Jeff Bezos, Amazon?
Yeah. So literally New York State, which is supposed to be the most progressive state in the nation, rivaled by
it is.
California.
It's certainly one of them.
And led by Andrew Cuomo, who is, I think, trying to be Democrat Jesus right now, just gave a $2 billion, almost $3 billion tax break to the richest guy in the world.
And not necessary, folks, because it's economies of scale and the taxes are so high. And by the way, that's a comment that Andrew made. And you may be right, Andrew, about he just says things to try to get in the news.
Yeah.
He can't have been tone deaf enough to say this. When somebody was questioning the bribes, as you put them, to get Amazon to come here, he said, well, we've got to do this kind of thing. New York's a high-tax state.
Yeah, we are.
Completely lacking a sense of irony, apparently. So in New York State, I believe the cost per job for the Long Island City Amazon deal is $48,000 a job. Now, the other location was what? Northern Virginia? Was that where it was?
Yeah. It was in Virginia somewhere.
Yeah, outside of Washington, D.C. Yeah. I believe that they're spending like about half of that. And then there's a major distribution center in Tennessee where the cost per job is $13,000.
Yeah.
And we're paying $48 per job?
Sure, yeah. We're really bad at negotiating anything, and we're really good at paying high bribes. So I mean that's New York State for you. And I mean New York State, this isn't a title yet, but I think we should make it. We should change the name of New York State from the Empire State to the Corporate Welfare State, or maybe just the Welfare State. I'm not really sure, but that would be way more representative of where New York is today.
Instead of Empire State, I would vote for Vampire State.
Yeah,
as in blood sucking.
Yep, absolutely. So I'm surprised that I don't see more people on the left upset about this. And I have seen some are starting to come out.
It's ideology. But he's there, as you said, he's their liberal Jesus.
Yeah. But I hope my friends on the left, and I do have a whole bunch of friends on the left, I hope that you guys hear this, think about this, and go, yeah, you know what? We're giving tax breaks to the rich here. We're literally giving almost $3 billion to the richest guy. I think he's considered the richest guy in the world right now.
It could be, Bezos.
Yeah. So I mean, literally $3 billion that's coming out of your pocket, my pocket, Bob's pocket.
And he's not done. There's going to be more.
Yeah. Well,
this is now the standard for doing business in New York State, and it's being set by the policymakers, such as they are in Albany. And folks, I can't sugarcoat this. You just voted him in record numbers.
Yeah.
What is that about?
Yeah.
Didn't you know that this is going to happen?
Yeah. I think that people were so caught up in fear in this election that they weren't thinking about anything else.
Fear? Yeah. This is what to be afraid of.
Yeah, I agree.
And now we're going to have single-payer health care, or at least he's going to try to do it. Yeah. And I had to chuckle when I saw one of our state senators on election night say, well, wagging his head about how the Senate was going to fall to the Democrats. We're just going to we'll have to ask Andrew Cuomo how he intends to pay for single payer.
Yeah.
You know how he's going to pay for it? He's just going to impose it on all of us, just like he did the SAFE Act.
Yeah, the single payer thing I think is also pretty interesting. I think they might pass it. I don't think it'll ever actually happen, because Bernie Sanders, who is like the single payer leader in the nation, he did get it passed in Vermont. And they spent years and years. They couldn't figure out how to pay for it, and they repealed it without ever being able to implement it. So I hope that I hope it never passes. But if it does, I hope that we don't just dive into it. I hope
how do we
they
stop
realize.
How do we stop it?
How do I don't know.
Andrew with his phone and his pen, he's just going to enact it, and he'll have some bunch of lackeys who will draft some ridiculous program, and it'll get imposed on the insurance companies, and the insurance companies, rather than go out of business and leave the state, will impose it on us.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
How did Obamacare happen?
Yeah. Well, but that's even a little different, because single payer is like the state has to have the money to pay for it. Like we've literally drained just about every penny out of every person's pocket already.
They'll borrow.
Yeah, they're going to have to. They're going to have to borrow. We're also the state with the highest debt in the nation, or maybe second highest. California might be beating us on that.
We may be okay, though, because if I seem to recall a story to the effect that New York's credit is shot. We can't borrow anymore.
So we can't borrow any more money. That might be our saving grace. Our credit's so bad that we can't afford to borrow for single-payer healthcare. That could be what keeps us from going under.
But you have to be careful about the economic model of Detroit, because that's what progressives all look to. Because Detroit went broke, they went bankrupt, they stiffed all their creditors and everything, and then they just looked to the federal government. They waited until there was a liberal left-wing administration in Washington, D.C., and they got bailouts.
Yeah. Well, that's not the case right now, I don't think. I think that
not now.
D.C. is
what progressives do is, and there's a word, the term progressive is informed, because what they do is they slide in the foundation for all of these nefarious and perverse programs, and they just wait.
Yeah.
Because sooner or later, the baton of power passes to the progressive side, and then they just get whatever they want.
Yeah, and that's true. The power does change.
And it never gets rolled back.
Yeah. Well, we see that with everything. I mean, we see especially like taxes. Taxes never go down. They never go down. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, we cut taxes. We did this or that. You didn't cut taxes, because I'll tell you what, this year's budget is always bigger than last year's budget. I don't care where you are, who you are in New York State. I have never seen, and maybe there's a town out there, maybe there's a county out there. I doubt it on the county side, but maybe there's a town somewhere in New York State that their budget from last year was more than their budget for this year. I highly doubt it. So I don't care if you're red, blue, anywhere in between. Nobody is actually cutting taxes in New York State.
Yeah. You got to remember that every time we have all these school districts, and God bless them, there's a lot of good people running these school districts, a lot of good teachers, a lot of good administrators, but there's a culture in public education which I think mirrors kind of an attitude that you see in the public sector everywhere, which is you get all this collection of belief systems, such as, well, if we don't ask for the money from the state, somebody else will get the money.
Yeah.
See, that's one of the things that propels spending, that kind of attitude.
Yep. Or that they'll lose it if they don't spend it.
Or it doesn't cost us anything because we got the money from the state.
Yeah.
Yes, it did, because the state doesn't have anything it didn't take from us.
Yeah. Well, that's like the city interloop project. That was a big thing that they were pushing. Oh, no, it's not going to cost us money because the state's covering most of it and the federal government's covering the rest. And I'm like, but the state and the federal government get their money out of my pocket.
Exactly.
So it's costing us absolutely every penny spent.
So what you see with the school districts is, we got to have a bond act because we need to have a new playing field. We need to have better air conditioning. We need to have fill in the blank. Yeah. And we're gonna float this bond, and it's only gonna cost $1 a week for everybody.
Yeah. Or I think I forget what it was. I want to say it was Fairport, and I think it got voted down. But they wanted to make some improvement to a library or something. And they're like, it's only gonna cost 54 cents per household per month or something like that. And they basically are taking like marketing that like, other companies use. Like, it costs less than $1 a day, and they're trying to use that to now get you to buy into more taxes and more government spending.
And we say that every dollar that you give up to government represents a little piece of your freedom that has irretrievably gone away. Because that never gets rolled back.
No, it doesn't. It's just things get more and more strict. Spending gets higher and higher. That's where we are.
All right, Andrew, thanks so much for Radio Free New York. We'll see you next time.
I'll see you guys.
All right. WYSL 92.1 FM, 95.5 West, and News Power 1040 AM. Always on at WYSL1040.com.
Shopping for a used car, but hate that uncomfortable feeling you get not knowing anything about its history?